Hi, and welcome to Shadow Talk's weekly intelligence summary track, where our team of analysts dive into the top threat intelligence stories each week. To read their full findings and analysis, make sure to visit resources.digitalshadows.com. Now here's your host, Harrison Van Riper.
What's up, everyone? I'm HVR, and this is Shadow Talk, Digital Shadows' weekly intelligence update podcast. With me, back again, is Alex G, or Ali G, as I should say now, since we decided that was your nickname from now on. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty well. It's good to have you back, Mr. Harrison.
Yep. So I was at RSA this week, and we'll touch on that in a second. But also in London, Jamie Collier, the Collier Jam on Twitter. JC Cool in our hearts. How are you doing?
Good. I'm impressed you're remembering all my different names. I'm going to have to create some new ones to confuse you even more.
Oh, then the intro is just going to get longer and longer each time then.
I mean, as long as, the most of the intro, if not the podcast, is just kind of about me, then, I'm happy.
That's ideal. Yeah. So Alex, you said that I was in RSA this week, and I was. That's why my voice is somewhat scratchy a little bit, but lots of talking went on. But RSA was really cool. This is actually the first RSA that I was able to attend, and it was an interesting, crazy experience. Like the sheer volume of people that come to this conference is pretty crazy. But the Digital Shadows presence was extremely strong, and we were handing out some cool test drive swag. So hopefully any listeners that were at the conference got a cool little race car. It's like a little stress ball race car that you can squeeze.
Did you bring any back?
No, I didn't. So my bags were overflowingly packed full because I apparently brought way too many clothes. Yeah, I brought 3 pairs of shoes. I don't know why.
For what, 4 days in San Francisco?
Yeah, I did. Don't ask me why. I have no idea. But there were a lot of really, really good meetings that came out of it, and there's some exciting developments that are in the works. So do stay tuned for that. But since I was in RSA this week, that means that I had no time to catch up on the threat intel from this week. So, Jamie, you are our INSOM analyst this week. Inform me on this Fin6 update.
Yeah, so Fin6 is a financially motivated threat actor. It's typically gone after point-of-sale environments, typically in the kind of retail and hospitality sector. During 2018, Visa's reported that the group has now fully incorporated into their attack methodology the targeting of card-not-present data. So this is involved in kind of e-commerce transactions when you're paying for things online. Really used this tactic, went after this kind of attack vector a lot in 2018. So it really shows that the group has kind of broadened out from just kind of compromising point-of-sale environments. That was kind of what they were doing before then. And the group targeted e-commerce sites through actually going through a client's internal network. Traditionally, we've seen a lot of e-commerce sites being targeted through third-party suppliers. So I think what stood out here was actually that they kind of went through a more traditional internal network targeting. So they initially would compromise a victim's device, and then they would kind of move laterally through a network to the e-commerce and the payment server, where a selected payload was deployed. And another thing that's kind of interesting about the attack methods they've been using is they've been using the payload more eggs, which has actually been used by other groups in the past.
That's interesting. So what other groups have we seen using that more eggs payload?
We've previously seen the more eggs backdoor being offered as malware as a service in a platform or toolkit referred to as golden chickens, which is a bit of a ridiculous name, I know. But used by other threat actors, including Cobalt Group. And I think what's interesting here is that Fin6 are using this in the sense that they're traditionally seen as quite a sophisticated group, and they're now using kind of more publicly available tools. We've seen a little bit of that, but I think what it will maybe mean is that the Golden Chickens toolkit will become quite popular as other threat actors see Fin6 being so successful with it. But I think it's also clear now that some of the more sophisticated groups can also gain success from using these readily available tools. It's kind of realistically possible that other sophisticated threat actors, will also kind of go down this path as a cheaper method for acquiring toolkits, potentially more reliable, more instant than actually developing their own.
Interesting. So could you say that Fin6 is going to continue clucking around?
Hey.
Alex just shook his head at me. Nobody could see that since it.
Alex shook his head, and Harrison was kind of beaming, looking for approval.
I really was. I was just staring hard at Alex while I said it.
I think Harrison is a little short on sleep.
Yeah, that too. Okay, well, cool. No, that's super interesting. So with Fin6 still clucking around, I'm just going to keep using it over and over again. So what can we expect from the group moving forward?
I think one area we might see is actually a widening of the organizations and the sort of sectors that they're targeting during the next 12 months. As I said before, traditionally targeted kind of retail and hospitality, but now essentially any organization with an e-commerce platform, that could even be, say, charities offering kind of donations on their site, etc. They're all, viable targets. So we've seen with other organizations targeting e-commerce platforms, in the last 12 months, that's included the transport sector, the retail sector, manufacturing, etc. So I think one thing would just be that widening of the sectors under scope now for the group. I think the other thing is, obviously, we've seen them during 2018 develop their attack methodology, add this kind of new tactic. So what have they been doing in the meantime? And are they developing other kind of tactics, other procedures right now? And, maybe in the future, their toolkit will be even wider, even more versatile, just, in order to increase the chances that their campaigns are successful.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And actually, it transitions nicely into our highlights for this week. So, Alex, the first highlight that we have is about Mage Card. Why don't you update on that?
Yeah, so another week, another Mage Card victim. This time it was Topps, so the US-based company that manufactures sports memorabilia. They were targeted by the Mage Card threat group, and specifically the Group 4 subgroup, which is known to be among the more sophisticated groups if you're looking at Mage Card subgroups. And similar to other Mage Card attacks, they injected a malicious script, and it was active on the site for about 7 weeks. So the company disclosed that they'd been affected. Customers, potentially their data was at risk, their payment information, personal information. So we might see more information on that come out in the next couple of weeks as well.
Interesting. Yeah, I don't have a good analogy or a funny phrase for Mage Card.
No.
I'll keep thinking on it. Maybe next week. I mean, there's going to be another one, so
of course.
Well. Yeah. All right, cool. So, Alex, the next one up is, I have no idea about this one, actually, so why don't you just jump right into it?
Yeah, so we saw a new malware called Farseer, which was possibly being used in the interest of the Chinese state. It was targeting individuals with Myanmar-themed lures and phishing campaigns. What was interesting about this one was that it had several overlaps, both in terms of the TTPs as well as technical overlaps with other malware, such as Henbox, which we've previously seen being used to target ethnic minorities in China. So because this campaign was so specifically targeted, it's possible that it was connected to the Chinese government due to their interest in the region and possibly targeting Burmese political figures, but that remains to be seen.
There's a lot of poultry-related words in this.
There is. I'm almost wondering if it's deliberate, and if so, what is the meaning behind
What
this?
is this meaning? We got maybe ACH.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jamie,
Jamie can
we
do
need
that.
that ACH.
Only if you're paying.
Okay, cool. So then moving on, this story I did hear about. U.S. Cyber Command preempts Russian influence with pre-election attacks. Give me the update on that.
Yeah, so the United States Cyber Command, that's the kind of more offensive arm of the US government kind of conducting cyber campaigns. And they were targeting the networks of, as you say, Russian-based Internet Research Agency. This is a kind of organization or agency, whatever you want to call it, that was kind of quite well known for kind of misinformation campaigns. So the US was likely doing this to kind of both to send a signal and to kind of prevent them conducting these campaigns in the run-up to the midterms. A few kind of conflicting reports on the precise impact of these attacks, but I think they do probably confirm a kind of more offensive or aggressive posture by Cyber Command to kind of signal to the Russians what's not going to be tolerated. I think we'll kind of continue to see this. For those interested in this area, the latest US cybersecurity strategy talks about this idea of defending forward, which is much more proactive disruption in kind of aggressors' networks. So it's kind of it looks like it's kind of sitting within that theme.
Yeah. I remember that coming out. I guess this last week, and it was definitely it was like the first time that they acknowledged that they were actively conducting attacks, right?
Yeah, I believe so. I mean, obviously we've seen a few documented things like Stuxnet in the past, but I think in terms of this new strategy, this is probably a sign of what's to come in the future. Whether it will always be public remains to be seen.
Sure. Cool. Yeah, super interesting stuff. All right, so then looking forward, Alex, I'll go to you for the first forward-looking update.
So the much beloved tax season, especially in the US, is upon us. And so we've seen previously, starting in 2017 was when it really started coming out. Threat actors were using tactics like business email compromise to target things like W-2 forms that could potentially be used for fraud. We've also seen phishing campaigns, and that's been ongoing ever since. And we kind of would expect that kind of activity to occur in the run-up to the tax deadline, which is on April 15th. So we're keeping our eyes peeled. That's what we're likely expecting.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of that in the past. I think that's a big deal for companies, and definitely something to watch out internally for.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so then Jamie, what about the next one?
Yeah, so there is a Syria donor conference taking place between the 12th to the 14th of March. That's for the governments providing aid to the state of Syria, and that will be co-chaired by the European Union and the United Nations. So obviously with that many kind of big hitters attending, it's likely going to prompt state-associated espionage, but it might also, it's realistically possible that ideologically motivated activists will use the event to kind of bring attention to and further Syrian causes.
Cool. And then moving on to the last one, number 3, Alex.
So there's been quite a bit of protest-related activity in Algeria in the past couple of weeks due to the presidential campaign and the announcement that the current president will be up for re-election. So it's possible that this kind of more physical protest will spill over into the cyber realm. Ideologically motivated threat actors could possibly conduct hacktivist campaigns. Even if it's not terribly likely, that's still a possibility because those types of campaigns typically build off real world events.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of that go on with kind of known hacktivist groups who kind of latch onto this idea, and then they conduct cyber operations.
And elections for sure are definitely one of the things that can be a catalyst for that kind of activity.
Definitely. All right, awesome. Well, that will wrap it up this week. If you want to download the full intelligence summary, go to resources.digitalshadows.com. That will do it from us for this. Actually, no, we have a question, but I don't have a question off the top of my head. Oh, no. All right, so the question of the week that we just thought of on the top of my head. I guess I thought of it on top of my head. I need sleep, Alex, please. Who is going to go see Captain Marvel this weekend?
I mean, you already know the answer to that.
Yeah, me and Alex are going to go see it tonight. So, Jamie, are you going to go see it?
I won't be seeing it, unfortunately.
Yeah, why? Come on.
There are many other films I'd be much more interested in seeing than Captain Marvel.
You're not big on this Avengers game, are you?
Jamie's more into silent black and white films, probably.
He's
Charlie Chaplin type.
More of an intellectual than we.
Well, the key is to see films that you kind of like to be seen seeing, even if you don't actually see them yourself.
It's all a status thing.
It's all a social event.
Just to be able to say you've seen them.
All right, cool. Well, then that will do it for us from this week. Me and Alex are going to go see the movie tonight. We won't spoil anything next week. Or maybe we will. Maybe we'll put in like little teasers in there for listeners. Yeah. That'll be good. All right, cool. All right, well, thank you, listeners. Thank you, guests. Thank you, Captain Marvel, for entertainment tonight. Talk to y'all next week.